this is what I've been working on. I've been working on Shredder's Communicator from the 1980s Turtle cartoon. And as you can see here, I managed to get hold of the prop image that they used for the cartoon. So this is the sort of template that they used for putting it onto the cells when they drew it. The first thing you will notice is that it's not flat on, it's not consistent sizing, and it's not consistent dimensions either. So it's a little hard to tell whether this bit should be a flat edge or is actually tilted in. It kind of looks like it's tilted in there, so it's chamfered in almost. But then you look on the cartoon, it looks like it's flat. So I sort of reimagined it as a real world item. So here we go. So we start. If I just take those bits off. So as you can see, I was messing around with trying to get a tilt working, and for some reason I've got the wrong one showing. Shell bottom. Right, there we go. Too many things named the same. So as you can see, we've got the bottom shell here, and it's been cut in. The shell's been cut in half, and I've added in screw hole posts, and this is where the aerial sits in again. A screw goes through there. Plenty of room for electronics, and if the request is there, we can fit a USB power recharger and or a power switch. So yeah, we have the bottom shell, and it has a lip around the outside here, so you can attach the two shells together. And then if we look at the top shell, you can see it's got the corresponding posts. And on the top shell, we've got room for the buttons, the speaker grill, and we've got a cutout here for the black signal box that goes in there. This one here. So yeah, that's the top shell, and we've also got the screen as well. So we've put hopefully the right shell back on. Yep. Put the shell back on. As you can see, they go together like this. And then we have the red and yellow buttons that sort of sit. They have like a lip around on the back, and they should be able to be pushed in. We've got the speaker grill, which is set up for like a little speaker that you could put in. And then we have the aerial, which just prints in one piece, and then you just screw through the two shells. Little black signal box, and then we have the screen. As you can see, I put a little decal of Krang. You just print that out. And where's this one? So I really need to rename these properly. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. There's not much to it. There's plenty of room for electronics. So if you can find a screen to fit in there, battery, speaker, a couple of buttons to play a video track, maybe several video tracks you want, like Krang, Bebop, Rocksteady, Granitor, Tragg, any of the other bad guys. Hell, even put Shredder on there, because I know Krang has one of these as well. Possible, you should be able to put one in there. So yeah, printing wise, I've exported these as 3MF files, and you should be able to put them into any slicer and print them out. And really just any default printing, so 2 or 3 walls, 15% infill, and job done. So let's have a look at what it looks like in real life. Right, so here's the first print of the design. You can see we've got the button. I printed it in white just to get going. So you can see the buttons, we've got the signal box, we've got the fake foot, the speaker grill, the sort of back greebly, we've got a screen, and the aerial, and then the shell itself. And you can see on the shell we've got these little posts for the screws, and they're the same on the other side as well. And they line up, and you just screw through with an M3 screw. These are M3, and they'll be 30mm roughly. As long as they start to bite into the top part of the shell, you should be fine. So assembly is quite easy. That just glues on like that, and that glues on like that. You probably could just attach that back to the STL, and so that will just print in one go like that. That, however, needs to be printed this way up and then glued back down. Support's really easy to move anyway. So those are glue on there. That's just placed on like so, and then it's held down with the 2 screw holes here, so it goes into the frame. So that's the back, and then the front. You can see we've got it's the front there. The little speaker grill just push fits into there, and then the buttons just sit nicely in there, except they don't, but we'll come to that in a second. So the buttons go there, and then the little speaker box goes there, and I put it bedside facing up, because then you get the same well, in my case, you get the same texture on the signal box. And then the screen. So initially I've printed the screen in white PLA, and obviously it's not see-through. So you could just do that and paint it black, and then you've got a turned off communicator. I took that a step further and decided to print it in transparent PLA, forgetting that it doesn't matter if you start adding layers of transparency, it stops being transparent. It's also a lot heavier. So then cut it in half. So we've got the top bit, which is 1 layer thick, and the bottom, which again is only 1 layer thick. And if I just drop the buttons, that just goes on there, and that goes on there, and you can just put a bit of paper in there, or if you can find a screen, you could just put it on there. But again, can't really see. You can just about see. If it was a backlit, you might be okay. So I modified that a step further, and I took this back bit out entirely. I won't show you yet because it's attached to something else. This gives you more visibility. So that's, yeah, and then obviously the buttons are just going to fall out straight away. So I created a little triangle bit, which again I'll show you in a second. So as a first prototype, I was fairly pleased with that. It proved a concept. It worked really well. So as I said, as a first prototype, that worked pretty well. So I thought, let's print it in colour. So this is, sorry, just get this on the right place. This is eSun. I can't remember what the exact purple is, but you can see I've got the little triangle bit here that would go over the buttons. And stick over the buttons, and then it'll give a little bit of a drop, so you can push the button in if you want to attach electronics to it. That one didn't quite work, so I went a bit thicker. And it's a little better, but anyway. So you can see what I mean about the back. I sliced it so it's just a 1 layer thick thing, and then you've got this bit here, and then you glue those bits two together. I was going to make it all one piece, but you can see that the screen itself is actually higher than this bit, and you can't make this bit any lower down, really. So actually, I suppose I could. No, I can't. Okay. So anyway, yeah, same assembly instructions. So it all just assembles together, and then you just screw to the back. So imagine I've done that. There you go. Now, the shape's right, dimensions right, as in scale. Sorry, the geometry of it. It just feels too big. And I've been sat on it looking at it for about a month. Just going. Let's picture Krang to go in there. Just sat on it going, it just feels too big. It doesn't seem right. And I realised my mistake. I was using the cartoon as a scale, and it's like, well, the cartoon changes scale depending on the scene or who drew the keyframe or the in-between frames, or it's like, it's if Shredder's turning it around to show it to somebody, they're going to make the screen bigger so you can see who's on the screen. If it's just holding it like this, it's going to make it smaller so it doesn't look massive compared to the person holding it. The scale always changes. So as you can see, after printing it out, it felt too big. It felt way too big. So I remeasured. I didn't remeasure. I measured the phone, just a normal phone, and I constrained this point to this point to the length of a modern mobile phone, which is why this is a different size to this. This is where we got to. So if we now look at version 2, you can see that it's roughly the same size, and obviously with the changes in the cartoonified version compared to a real world version. But you can see the difference. It went down by 18%, so it's 82% of the original size. And already that just, it's hard to tell in 3D space, but I just got a feeling that looks better. So I've already printed it. We're going to see it in a second. It's identical. All I've done is shrunk it down, and I read something I mentioned earlier is I've redid the holes, so they're the same size as the 3mm holes, and make sure the countersinks are the right size. And if I take the top, let's hide the canvas. You can see I've thickened up these as well, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. And you can see the button cover. You can see what the idea would be, that it allows the buttons to sit in this gap here and drop down and be pushed back up by a real button underneath, a momentary button or something. So it's identical to the version 1, apart from those couple of changes I mentioned, and just smaller. So just pop that back on, and so we'll see what that one looks like in real life now. And that feels much better. As you can see, I've screwed this one together. But if you listen carefully, the pegs broke. So as I was screwing through the holes, these pegs broke on the one side, luckily. So there's still something to grab into on the other side, and it's all held together, but it's got that annoying, shake now. So I scaled it back down. I think you can find a rectangular screen that would fit here just. It would overhang down to about here, which means you'd have to be creative. I think you could do it. I think you get a screen here, or you could get a screen that cuts off, say maybe here, and then just put something black there to cover it up, so the screen sort of follows normal conventions for a screen. As you can see, I put the blue signal wire in just with a bit of blue paint, and that's just been printed and then just put together. But I like that. So anyway, that's how that's gone together, and that's M3 by 20 screws in there, so it takes it to about there-ish. So I was happy with that, apart from the break. So I've now reprinted it again. Oh, I also wasn't happy with the buttons either. The buttons still aren't pressing down. So I've reprinted it again and made some changes. I've made these bits a lot bigger, and I try to get them to attach to the actual frame itself, and for the most part it's done that. For the most part, it's done that. So hopefully those shouldn't break. I also redone the size as well, because I realised that in Fusion I put them to 2.8mm, thinking, I'm going to put the screw in a a 3mm screw, and therefore I need to make it slightly smaller to give it something to bite into, completely forgetting about the squish. So I've resized them so it should now fit. As in, it'll have some bite, but you aren't just trying to screw away half a mil of plastic. So I've done that, yeah, and I've retooled the little triangle bit. And hopefully, yeah, there's definitely more of a drop so that you can push the button in and then it pushes back. Other than that, it's identical to the one I just showed you. Apart from need a bit of tidying up. So, as I said, and the screen itself is just a single layer PLA, transparent PLA. And you can see through that pretty well. In fact, if you can get a screen to fit this, and you might have to mod the back of this frame slightly and potentially even the bottom of the frame here, I think you do it. Either that or you have the screen sat against this back plate so it's slightly further away. I don't think it'll matter too much. But yeah, so I'm going to put this together. Right, so let's start building this. We'll start off with the back and some EMA Plastic and the worst possible brush you can use for doing it. And just run a bit of EMA there. And then get the back greebly thing. And that's what that facing up. So there you go. So it looks like that. And then the same with the fake tilt foot. I think I said this in the fusion part, but I attempted to make this into a tilt, but it just wasn't going to stay. If you followed how it looked in the cartoon, it just wasn't going to stick out. You try and do that, and it just go. Ugh. So it wasn't going to stay up. Just a shame. It would have been nice to make it tilt. I mean, I might go back and have a look at it. So that's the back done. Just glue those two pieces down. So we can put that to the side. And now we look at the top. So first of all, let's do that back up so we don't gas ourselves. Yeah, incidentally with the foot, I've put it the same with the textured side of the bed, the same as how this is printed, so it all looks the same. Right, and for this bit here, again, the textured side up, and I've got a paint pen, acrylic paint pen, and I'm just going to do a little design that looks like a signal, starting from the middle at the top. Something a bit like that. That's kind of what you're after. It kind of lends into that hand-drawn animation style. I was debating actually whether to cell shade this. A bit like how you see some of the NECA Turtles toys, and they have look like they're shaded the same as a cartoon. So like that'd all be one colour, but then this side would have been shaded a different colour, so it looks like a cartoon like. Anyway, so that glues in there. Little bits everywhere. Yeah, that just glues in there. And then the buttons, I'm going to get this, because for one thing I don't want to damage that, but also I want the buttons to actually sit low. I don't want to be pushed up. So I want to sit like that, so I'm going to do that. And then the red button on that side, and the yellow button closest to the aerial slot, like so. And you know they're the right way around because the lip will be on this side, and they'll be slightly proud that side. And then I'm going to get my little triangle thing, and you'll see there's a very, I don't know how well that's going to show. You'll see there's like a very small cutout. Maybe you won't. So essentially, the way it's orientated on the bed using the 3MF file, that's the top. So again, we're going to want the textured side facing up. So it looks like this. And I don't know how well it'll show on camera, but there's like a little recess for the buttons to push it up into here. So as long as that's like that, you're fine. Right, I left the top off again. And then very gently, just run a bit of EMA. Try not to move it, which I've successfully moved it. So let's go this way a bit. So the red's very loose, the yellow. Okay. Yellow, not so much. It's got caught or something. I wouldn't have thought a mirrored piece could actually act differently, would you? Let's do that. There we go. So you kind of just have to fiddle it into place and not put too much glue so it doesn't stick the actual buttons themselves. The yellow one will push down, it's just a bit loose, whereas the red one's fine. So I don't quite know. I've got a bit of glue on the bottom corner of the yellow one. Anyway, so that's that bit. And then we get the speaker grill. And that just pops in like so. And you ideally want it angled like that. You want it angled like that. It's up to you. I don't think there's any right or wrong way. I imagine the cartoon had it in different orientations depending on who drew that particular cell or that particular episode. So just run a bit of glue around the outside again. Just hold it in place. Try not to get any glue on the outside if you have printed it in colour like I have. So that's that bit. So now we come to the screen. So we've got the screen here. Just pop it on the back plate. And you will find it gets stuck in this corner. If you're trying to pull it out, I mean. Pop the screen in and then turn it the other way around. And pop the screen cover on that side. And then undo the glue that you just done up. And then very gently, and probably with a better brush than this, just run a bit of EMA where the two pieces meet on the inside. There we go. And then immediately push the screen back out the other way so you don't accidentally glue the screen to the frame, just in case you need to remove it for whatever reason. You see what I mean? It's getting stuck in this corner. So, and remember, it's only one layer thick here, so you've got to be very careful how you push it out. That should be enough to lever it out. Use my trusty pointed stick. There we go. There we go. Yeah, and that's glued together. So we'll leave that to dry for a second. And leave that to dry. Next thing is just clean up any remaining brim on here. Also, when if you do use my 3MF build file, I flipped this round, so I had it printing this way round, which is actually upside down. It needs to be printed that way round because this is the top, and therefore you get the slightly nicer edge. But anyway, so we just need to pull the little support material out of there. So that just places on the back frame like that. We can put our screen back on now because it's EMA and it dries pretty quickly. Go. And then two pieces should more or less clip together. Yeah. Right. And now what we need, let's make sure that's done up, is some M3 by 20 countersunk screws, nuts, bolts, whatever you want to put there, bolts. We need 5 of those. And because it's not Star Wars, I'm going to use crosshead. And then we're going to start off here. Right, you'll notice I've done these 3, and those are the ones that aren't connected to the aerial, and that's because these are the points that are more likely to come apart while you're trying to screw the rest of it together. So you screw those 3 down, and then you can do the last 2. There we are. That's it. So that's now built and together. So as I said, I'm thinking about maybe trying to do some animation cell shading on it and see how it goes. But as you can see, the buttons have fallen down to the bottom of the triangle, and that's because there's nothing to push it back up like a proper button. But I was saying that one is getting stuck. Why is that yellow one getting stuck? Okay, that's just a me making problem, not a... I think I've accidentally glued it. But anyway, there we are. One Krang / Shredder communicator, which feels a much better to hold, and especially holding it like this. Yeah. So as you can see, there's not any difference to the one I made previously. It's just those shaky bits. But yeah, I'm pleased with this. And I think you can you should be able to get a screen in there. And failing that, you can always just put a bit of paper. I mean, as I said, you could just put a picture of Krang there, and it still look pretty good. You could even put a light there and have a backlit picture, just to make sure so it looks like it's visible coming through, and maybe just a little speaker. So you just press a button and it does the noises like shredder, something like that, without necessarily video. But anyway, I will pop this up on my Colts page for you to buy, and I hope you can see many of these out and about. You could also Star Warsify this quite easily, I think. It's almost, yeah. I think this could be Star Warsified. Put some more greavies on it, different colours, some logos. But yeah, done. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.